Hi everyone. This video is about Salman Rushdie's collection of essays titled The Languages of Truth. Essays between 2003 to 2020. The collection was published in 2021, and before the publication, Rushdie included one last essay about his experience catching COVID-19, catching the coronavirus in the early days of the pandemic and recovering from that. That other incident, that other unfortunate terrorist incident committed against him after this publication is not included, it's not referred to here because it happened later on. But the material here is very much relevant to that that terrorist or dogmatic or religious fundamentalist attitude that motivated the attack on the author. Of course, I hope he recovers from that incident as much as possible, as fast as possible. Let's talk here about this collection. I enjoyed these essays very much. The essays are divided into 4 parts, moving progressively from general topics, general scope, to more specific subjects. So in part 1, we read about stories, storytelling, and the place of literature in human life in general terms, and in parts 2, 3, and 4, we read about specific subjects, including other writers like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Philip Roth, other artists, painters, photographers, and Rushdie's appreciation of them as creative individuals and as human beings, and in some cases as personal friends. I especially loved the first set of essays because they set the stage for what comes next. And I went back, once I finished the book, I went back and read the first couple of essays one more time as a kind of summation of the entire collection. In general, it is quite exciting when a writer of fiction turns to writing essays. And picking up a book like this feels like not so much serious reading or preparation for serious reading. It feels more like taking a break from serious reading, because the author himself or herself, the professional novelist, is taking a break from their primary serious work of writing fiction, and here communicating with us in a more direct way, in a more personal way, and maybe generally in a more casual way. So the tone becomes less serious. My own theory is that you find in the essay form, especially when you are getting essays from novelists, from fiction, primarily fiction writers, when they turn to writing essays. In this type of essays, you get a strong expression of the author's dominant tendencies, literary tendencies, or psychic tendencies, because they are letting go of their usual discipline when they are doing their fiction work. So because they are letting go of that discipline, what is dominant or what is more natural in their psyche gets a chance to come more freely to the foreground. In the case of an author like Andre Aciman, for example, you get that sensual, imaginative style mixed with the atmosphere of nostalgia and loss. In the case of Italo Calvino, you get an imagination that's more explorative, playful, more productive and poetic. And it's an imagination that goes deep into the hidden layers of reality and history. With someone like Umberto Eco, the essays are an intense intellectual exercise and informational. They're information-oriented. They aim to inform. Rushdie's style is imaginative, but it is also comparable to the style of Umberto Eco in its intellectual force and intellectual aim. The essays are shaped by the themes of immigration, belonging at once to multiple cultures, moving from one place to another place, the questions of identity that result from that kind of movement, that kind of mixed belonging, and Rushdie's appreciation of art and artists, and his philosophical position regarding freedom of expression, freedom of thought, and pluralism that he believes in, that he insists on. As the title of the book suggests, Languages of Truth. Truth requires a multiplicity of languages. One of the main themes in these essays is Rushdie's insistence that A healthy society, a healthy human community needs a range of different perspectives and voices. We need disagreements and arguments between these perspectives, not for the sake of an eventual resolution, but because of that plurality itself, because of the differences, because the plurality itself is the condition of living freely. It is the precondition for a certain way of human existence. It is that way of human being, that way of human existence that is opposed by religious fundamentalists and dogmatists who want to enforce one correct set of beliefs on everybody and one set of boundaries around what is considered appropriate or acceptable thinking and expression. Rushdie also points out that pluralism isn't about different perspectives coexisting peacefully at a distance from each other. So with atheists over there, Christians over here, and Muslims over there, and all trying their best not to bother one another. Pluralism is about mutual enriching and informing. It is about dialogue and sustained dialogue, because it is in the exchange that each side becomes aware of itself and aware of other sides, other possibilities. Each side becomes impregnated by ideas and insights and stylistic elements from the other side. And that has very interesting consequences for art and for creativity, not just for practical matters and philosophical matters. This shows up in stories and in artistic projects. An idea is transformed once it travels from one context to another context, from one medium to another medium. A painter's insight is transformed once it's grasped and expressed by a novelist. Similarly, a novelist's idea is transformed once it is appreciated by a musician, once it is expressed and experienced by another type of artist, and so on and so forth. Related to this, something that stood out for me, even though Rushdie's treatment of it was brief, was related to that famous controversial book, The Satanic Verses, and the debates surrounding it. Rushdie here says how he disliked defending that work against people who saw it as blasphemy, because in his defense, he always had to offer a narrow interpretation of that work. But the whole vision, his whole system of values, is about plurality. It is about letting each person having a chance to read the book on their own and having their own interpretation. So getting into dialogue with dogmatists leads us into narrow and somewhat dogmatic positions. The urgency of debating a novel within a religious context for religious purposes just doesn't seem appropriate to the literary form and literary work. In any case, the essays are very good, very engaging. As I said, I especially love the first 4 essays, but I liked the rest of the essays as well. They are worth reading and rereading, some of them as starting points of curiosity for exploring other artists and writers. That's it for my review. Please like and subscribe if you like the video. Check out my Patreon page and consider joining my book club. We will be finishing up soon Derrida's book, The Gift of Death, and we'll get into 3 essays by Suzanne Sontag. Take care, and we'll talk with you next time.